I'd like to call to order the Clarkston Independence District Library meeting of May 15th, 2017. Let's call the meeting to order at 6:01. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have our roll call, please.
Jan Gaffney. Here. Michelle Ginn. Here. Dan Green, absent. Mary Himberg. Here. Allison McFadden Kiesling. Here. Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Ann Rose. Here. And Meredith here. Okay.
I'll accept a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Call to the public.
The Friends of the Library has just completed the 2017 Spring Book Sale, and the sales were just over $8,500, which is pretty average for the sale. We owe our volunteers a huge debt of gratitude, particularly the kids from the National Honor Society at Clarkston High and the Impact Weekend people that came to help. We set up and cleaned up in record time this year due to their efforts, so we really appreciate that. The Teen Art Show is scheduled for Saturday, June 10th from 2 until 4:30, which is a change from what it's been in the past. So we're going to try this one and see how that affects the attendance. The Quilt Committee has been busy with their unveiling ceremony, which will be September 9th. They have invited all of the authors and illustrators that are featured on the quilt to come and have had apparently a very decent response on that. So we're looking forward to that.
Excellent.
That's it.
Thank you. So that is all right. Next, we have the consent agenda, which has quite a number of items on it. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any item that anyone wishes to discuss individually? Okay, if not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, library statistics.
We have April and May statistics in front of you because your April meeting was so early that we didn't have them prepared yet. I just have a couple of little points that...
March and April, right?
What's that?
You said
I'm sorry,
March
March
and
and April. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's so hard to be able, I'm not the head. I have May on the brain now. Just a couple of things that Brad wanted me to let you know. He's in charge of our digital collections, and the Everyone's Reading title, which is Once in a Great City, he put at the top of the Overdrive homepage and was really excited. Within 24 hours, there were 4 checkouts and 10 holds put on it. So obviously, featuring it did make a big difference, and he was very excited about that. Also, he went in and checked, and in the Overdrive statistics, we are the 7th highest lending library out of 49. So that was pretty impressive as well, and I wanted to highlight those two statistics.
Okay, are there any comments on anything else regarding the statistics? All right, if there are no questions about that, we'll move on to the library director's report.
A lot of the things that I would be updating you about tonight are on the agenda, so I don't have a ton on my director's report this evening. In terms of buildings and grounds, phase 3 of the parking lot project is coming to a close. The rough coat of asphalt has been laid on the east half and then on the west half of the lot. Depending on the weather, the library will need to be closed on May 19th, 20th, or 21st in order to lay the finished layer across both halves of the lot in order to prevent any seam. They haven't given me a firm date yet, but I did talk to the engineer and they're going to let me know ASAP. So, In terms of project updates, the library was supposed to be closed on Friday, April 7th for our all-staff training day. Unfortunately, due to an unexpected snow event that caused a power outage, we had to cancel the training. The library was already scheduled to be closed, so it caused minimal inconvenience to our patrons, but we will need to reschedule our annual training day, and a recommendation is on tonight's board agenda. The circulation department has completed the installation of the new point of sale equipment, so the system is ready to go live as soon as the staff has been trained. Unfortunately, the all-staff training day that had to be canceled due to the power outage was when that training had been scheduled to take place. The head of circulation and senior circulation clerk held 2 special after-hours trainings, and they should be ready to go live next week. The next phase will be to implement the online payment portion of the project. The initial step of upgrading the website to security has already been completed as far as that goes. At this afternoon's Michigan Book and Author Society luncheon, the Clarkston Independence District Library was awarded the James Dance Grant of $1,000 for library services in support of the performing arts. Lawrence Marble wrote this grant on behalf of the library to expand our collection of theater materials and bring theatrical performances to the library. He intends to make this intergenerational by having performances by the Michigan Children's Theater Company, Clarkston High School's Drama Department, and the Clarkston Village Players.
Great.
Good.
Spectacular.
Yeah, very exciting. That'll all take place in the fall.
Okay.
Very cool.
And then in terms of collaborations, the Clarkston Community Awards Breakfast will take place on Tuesday, May 23rd from 7:30 to 9 a.m. at the Clarkston Community Church. This is a feel-good event that highlights the endeavors of people and organizations that make Clarkston a great place to live, work, and play. For information about buying tickets to the breakfast, go to www.clarkstoncommunity.com/Clarkston-awards-breakfast.
Okay, thank you. All right, on to regular business. Item number 1, appointment of a youth and teen services librarian.
Okay. At the meeting on April 3rd, 2017, the library board approved the posting for a full-time youth and teen services librarian should the previous employee accept another position. The previous employee did put in her notice later that week, so we posted the position on April 8th, 2017. We received 25 resumes. The selection committee consisted of Tracy Bedford, Lawrence Garble, Julie Meredith, and Marilyn Pomeroy. We conducted 7 interviews, including 3 internal candidates, and narrowed the field to our top 2 choices. Next, we invited 2 teen representatives from the library's Teen Lead program to meet each candidate, describe the current teen program and teen lead, and ask each person a few questions. The selection committee then reported the feedback from these teens. While both candidates were excellent, after thorough consideration and discussion, the committee unanimously recommends Alexa Hirsch. Alexa Hirsch is enthusiastic, approachable, and has a wide range of experience working with children and teens, including tutoring, student teaching, working in a school library, and assisting with programming in a public library. While she has just graduated with her MLIS degree and recently moved to Michigan, she has already become involved with the Michigan Association for Media and Education and attended the Michigan Library Association's Spring Institute Conference for Youth and Teen Librarians in an effort to immerse herself in Michigan's library community of both school media specialists and public librarians. Through her interview, meeting with the teen league representatives, and presentation of sample programs, she demonstrated passion and creativity for service to youth and teens. For these reasons, the committee feels she will be a great fit for our library. Based on the salaries of current staff and the experience on her resume, the committee recommends a salary of $42,500 and the standard full-time employee benefits package with a start date of May 22nd, 2017. In terms of budget considerations, this salary is within the budget already allotted for this position in 2017. There may need to be a slight budget adjustment for insurance benefits if the coverage for the new employee is different from the previous employee, but this can be addressed before the end of the year if there is an issue. And her resume and cover letter are in your packet.
Are included. Any comments or?
I can't believe you did it so fast. I'm so impressed.
Well, we
were working on timelines.
We definitely needed to, we had great candidates, so it was very helpful. Our salary is competitive. There are other libraries in the area right now that also have jobs posted,
So we were pleased.
That's great.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it was nice to have people who wanted to work here as well as at those other libraries.
So that was good.
It's a good day for libraries, so thank you to everybody that did.
Yes.
Thank you.
It was, actually, it's a pleasant activity, really, interviewing. you know, everybody has different perspectives, so it's really interesting to hear. We try to give situational questions, and it gives us an opportunity to see how the candidates are thinking about an issue. So there's no right or wrong answer. We're really looking for what is their mindset when an issue or something comes up. How would they deal with it? What steps would they go through? So not necessarily that there's a correct solution, but we want to see how they are approaching different situations within the library. So I'm very, very pleased with the process. All right, I'll accept the motion.
I move to appoint Alexa Hirsch as the full-time youth and teen services librarian with a salary of $42,500 and the standard benefits package of a full-time employee. The date of hire will be Monday, May 22nd, 2017.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we appoint Alexa Hirsch as the full-time youth and teen services librarian. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is the review and approval of document station.
Okay, this is from our head of circulation, IT manager Bill Bowman, and our business and marketing librarian Trevor Wynn. In our continuous pursuit of patron experience improvement, we have been looking into an upgrade to our scanning, faxing, copying solution. We looked at a few solutions from vendors that we have done business with in the past. They were Envisionware and Total Business Solutions. Looking at the two solutions, the solution provided by TBS was found to be more capable and less expensive than the Envisionware solution. Attached, you'll find the brochure for the TBS solution. Actually, both solutions are in there. Additional years of maintenance will be $795 per year. In addition, 2 of the simple scan stations features, faxing and translation services, are billable in the following manner. Faxing is 16 cents per page, payable in arrears, and the translation services are $60 per quarter for up to 3 million characters per quarter. Faxing was approximately 930 pages in 2016 using the solution that we currently use, of which we received approximately $70 in revenue. The cost for the translation services will be $240 for the first year. Maintenance for the product is $795 for each additional year and covers hardware and software for this unit. And Bill Bowman is here to answer all of your questions.
Okay. What benefit do you think this is going to provide for the library?
The solution in general or specifically
The
the one?
solution in general.
We've been looking at better and easier ways of patrons to do things like their scanning, especially scanning to email, which has been a function that people have been asking for quite a bit. Our faxing solution, it works, but it's a third-party product and it doesn't work as well as we'd hoped. It's not as easy to use and things like that. It's also been the only thing that was able to take a credit card and could only be used with a credit card, so we couldn't pay for cash for faxes and stuff like that. And those are the two major things. The faxing and the scanning are significantly easier than what we have now. And so that's why we were looking at it for both our patrons and the business community to be to improve on all of their stuff that they can do.
Do you want to describe it a little bit so that they understand kind of what the unit is?
The unit that we are requesting is through Today's Business Solutions. It's called their Simple Scan Station. What it consists of is it's an all-in-one computer. It's a 17-inch monitor, touch screen. The whole thing's contained in one box. And connected to it is a sheet-fed scanner, which is just this. It's a scanner it's an upright scanner, so you feed your pages through the top and it spits them all out on the bottom, and a book edge style 11 by 17 scanner as well, to make it so that you can scan pretty much anything you run into. The best part about the sheet-fed scanner is it's also duplex. It scans both sides of the page at the same time, so it can do 30 physical pages. I believe the stats is it's 30 physical pages per minute. So, but that's 60 pages a minute that it can scan, which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
It's significantly faster than what we're using now. Plus, the copier we have now, when it does duplex, it has to run it through twice every time it scans.
Yeah.
This one just spits them out on the bottom, which is really cool. It also does automatic de-skewing, meaning you can basically put it on that flatbed scanner, just put the thing on the scanner and it will straighten it for you. It will assume right side up, and all the testing we did when it was here, it straightened everything we put on it. I put it upside down, I put it sideways, and it figured which way it was up and all that other good stuff.
Oh, good.
And it can scan and send to pretty much anything you throw at it. Email, there's a list of the things in the brochure at the bottom of the first page. Things like scan to email, scan to a USB drive, and that's really the big one. The scan to USB on our copier is extremely difficult to use. There's a little USB connector that sits in front of it. You take a thing, go scan it, and it scans it to the USB drive for you. And it will scan, our current copier solution scans only to PDF or image, so like a JPEG of pictures. This will, not only will it scan to PDF, JPEG, it will also turn it into an editable document, an editable Word document. An editable document, well, if we pay for the additional services, an editable document in up to 60 different languages. It will actually translate the document for you to up to 60 other languages, and also give you an audio copy of it. Which is, that was the one, I was like, okay. And so that was another thing, when our vendor was out here testing it, she showed us, she copied a document, she had a document in her, she had it sent to the translation services. Less than 5 minutes later, she had it on her phone, she played it out loud, it was in French.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know much French, but I know enough French to know that it was not a word-for-word translation, like you would think for a lot of things, but it was an actual translation of what she said. And I went, that's the biggest part that impressed me. That's one of the features that I don't know if we're going to use it. I have no idea. We're going to have to market it in such a way that it'll be very handy for people. But it was one of the big things that it's with it. You know, you just have to pay an additional fee to use the service. It's part of the machine though.
I take it that Trevor is anticipating that
Yes.
our business community can make good use of this.
Yes, and then if you look at the, what is it, the second page, I think it's the second page of the document, it tells you all the different file formats it can do. So I mean, you can say, they said Word documents, I have a lower quality copy than you guys do. PDFs, searchable PDFs, all of the different things that that anybody would ever need to see. I mean, really, all of the different file formats. And it's this interface is very simple. It's just big buttons on the screen, and it walks you through the whole thing.
Where will you put it?
In where the business center is now, where the initial thought is to put it along the wall,
As you come in.
not the wall that the copier's on, but the wall around the corner from it, where the tax kiosk was.
Right.
That's the initial thoughts, at least while we're still working on designing the business center.
Because most people will need help with it the first time.
I really don't think so,
No?
to be perfectly honest. I don't think, I mean, there will be people who need help with it, yeah, especially if they want to do something advanced. But for the basic thing, it's just a large screen says, what do you want to do? I want to copy it, I want to scan it, I want to whatever. And it says, okay, and then it literally will walk you step by step, put it on the thing, okay?
And you put your credit card in.
It's right now, the scanning is going to be free. The faxing we will be charging for, and it actually will connect to the coin and bill acceptor that we already have. So we won't be able to take credit cards on it immediately, but we will be able to take cash for it,
Yeah.
which is actually, I think, an improvement for it. Because if people just need to fax, and most of the faxing is going to be done in more of a cost recovery option. We're not going to charge all that much because we were charging, or Fax 24 I think was charging $1.75 for the first page. Well, it's only costing us 16 cents a page. I think that's a bit excessive, but
It sounds like people will love it.
I think they will. And Trevor and I, we were like, I've been through the demo with this company twice now, and I've seen the other product that we did not choose. This one is, it's
Much
huge.
better.
I mean, it's a huge difference in feature sets. And even though InVisualWare told me, well, we've got more features now, still, their stuff does not have some of the features that this product has.
And as a purchasing person, I have to say, I really love it when the best choice is the
It's
least
cheaper.
expensive.
It's also cheaper, yes.
That just makes it.
Yeah.
All right, are there any other questions for Bill? Thank you for all of the hard work in assessing these different possibilities for us.
And there's not a whole lot of companies that make something like this either. It was just kind of interesting to find a few that actually do.
That actually do
That
that.
actually, they say everybody just has a copier, that's all they need. You know, this is, like I said, a simpler solution that is patron-facing is was really what we were searching for. And,
Sounds like you got it.
yeah,
All right.
Now, from a budgeting standpoint, this is not a budgeted project. This is a project that we had been talking about, but we weren't sure exactly when we were going to want to execute it. So the cost is $4,900. We're recommending that it come from undesignated revenue. For budget, actually, it should come from fund balance, I'm sorry. It should come from fund balance.
What number is that?
Fund balance doesn't have a number.
Right.
It would just be fund
Okay.
balance, and then it would go to budget line 980, equipment, in order to cover the initial costs of the machine, the first year of maintenance. And then we would also need a budget adjustment of $400 also from fund balance to 727 to cover the estimated translation services and faxing costs. Now, we will be doing cost recovery for that, but because those fees that we take in would go into a revenue line, they still come out of our budget, and it should be flush at the end of the year, but we still have to budget for it, so.
Okay. I will accept a recommended motion.
I will move to accept this motion as presented. Is there just one motion?
It's all one motion.
It's all one motion. Do you want me to read it?
Probably that's a good
Okay.
idea.
I move to approve the purchase of the Simple Scan Station from Today's Business Solutions TBS. Approve a budget adjustment of $4,900 from
Fund balance.
fund balance to budget line 980, equipment, to cover the initial cost of the machine in the first year of maintenance. Approve a budget adjustment of $400 from fund balance to line 727, subscriptions, to cover the estimated translation service and faxing costs.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve this purchase with the recommended transfers from fund balance to the designated lines. Are there any questions or comments? Excellent, thorough presentation. Thank you. It was very clear in our packets. All those who are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion is approved. Thank you, Bill. And thank Trevor. Okay, number 3. We have to go through a few pages to get to number 3.
Bill had a lot of paperwork to do.
Yes.
The approval of the lawn mowing contract renewal.
Independence Township DPW has been responsible for mowing the library's lawn for many years. DPW Director David McKee has proposed renewing the lawn care service for the library for the 2017 season. That is the same as 2016, 2015, and 2014. This quote is the hourly rate of the workers, which is $11.50, plus a small additional fee of $6.50 per hour to cover gas and equipment maintenance. The DPW would put the library on their regular weekly mowing schedule. Additional one-time lawn work, such as sidewalk edging prior to the garden walk, could be done upon request and would be billed at the same rate of $18 per hour per worker. I cannot imagine that we could get a better deal than this. This is very, very inexpensive, and it's really nice of the township.
And it's been
Yes.
working.
And it has been working really, really well.
Yes.
And they know exactly where to go.
Yes.
What to mow. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve lawn mowing contract submitted by the Independence Township DPW as presented.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the lawn mowing contract submitted by Independence Township DPW as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Next, approval of rescheduling for the annual staff training day. Didn't work out so well in April. Did I miss something?
The attorneys are.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I did too.
Excuse me, I jumped right over the approval of the attorney hourly rate.
The library has been employing library law specialist and sergeant for library-specific legal services since the library started the reestablishment process. Since that time, the hourly rate for legal services has remained the same. Foster Swift, Collins and Smith PC has sent a letter indicating that the rate will increase from $190 per hour to $200 per hour effective July 1st, 2017. They would like the library board to review and sign the included letter indicating agreement to the new rate. Essentially, my summary says what the letter says.
Okay, and in essence, how long has it been 190 since we've been working
They
with
said
them?
since 2007. I think we may have used them once or twice in 2007, but really, it's been that rate since we started the rate establishment process.
It doesn't
And it
seem-
seems like a relatively modest increase.
Right.
Well, the other thing is that they are very generous in terms of, because they do a lot of library work. For example, they've come up with ways to make it less expensive when we needed our FOIA. They had a package deal we can buy instead of paying the hourly rate of her writing all of that. They created a package and all we did was pay to update that package.
The wheel had already been.
It had already been invented and all she does is sell it to each of the libraries as needed and it's already, so those are the kinds of things that they do in order to keep costs down for libraries, which is maybe not the case with every attorney. So, yeah.
Okay, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve the new hourly rate for legal services from Foster, Swift, Collins, and Smith PC as presented and authorize.
Julie,
Who would you like to sign?
Who shall we have?
how about our director?
You may authorize whoever you like.
Okay, I'll put in the motion Julie Meredith to sign the letter of agreement.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the new hourly rate for legal services from Foster, Swift, Collins, and Smith as presented, which is $200 an hour, and authorize our director, Julie Meredith, to sign the letter of agreement. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Now, back on track.
Sorry about that.
That was good, I just jumped ahead. How about approval of rescheduling the annual staff training day?
Okay. Earlier this year, the library board approved a closure for the annual staff training day on April 6, 2017. Unfortunately, due to an unexpected inclement weather that caused a power outage at the library, which never happens here, the training had to be canceled. The library director and the department heads proposed closing the library on Friday, September 1st, 2017 for staff training. While the Friday before a holiday weekend may not seem like an ideal time for training, there was already an all-staff meeting scheduled for that morning. This is far enough in advance to provide adequate notice to staff to make attending this event a priority. In addition, the last week of August, just before school starts, is a slow week for the library, so it will minimize inconvenience for our patrons and give us the opportunity to rally our team as the school year kicks off.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
All right, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve a library closure on Friday, September 1st, 2017 for the reschedulement annual all-staff.
Training day.
Can't read that. Oh, training day. There we go. Sorry.
I'll second that.
Did you get that, Debbie?
Yes.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the rescheduling of the staff training day to September 1st, 2017. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now, update and discussion of our capital improvement projects.
Okay, the library director will provide an update of 5 capital improvement projects identified by the library board as 2017 priorities. Those priorities that you identified when we were going through this budget process for 2017 were phase 3 of the parking lot, space planning of the adult computer lab, address storage and space issues, replacement of the main entry doors and the delivery doors on the back of the building, and replacement of the phone system. So, you have handouts in front of you that were with your director's reports and statistics. The first thing in your pile, which should look familiar to you, is a horizontal page that is stapled. It's 4 pages. That is our capital improvement plan. This is what we had on our capital improvement plan for 2016. So it shows you what finished at the end of 2016 and what was planned for 2017. So in the column that says replacement priority, the ones that are left, we have 1s, 2s, and 3s, 1 being high priority, 2 being medium priority, 3 being either recently completed or not a priority at this time. So obviously the parking area is identified. The southwest corner of the lot storm drain. The aluminum doors, which are the front main entry doors, and then the steel doors, which are the back doors. Now the main entry door, when we first did a cost estimate, Allied, our facilities company, said about $25,000. The delivery door was estimated at about $7,000. So those, just keep that in mind for a minute. The next thing I want you to do is set that one aside. The other thing is the technology inventory. This is similar sort of thing. This is only capital improvements in terms of technology. The things identified as level 1 at the end of 2016 were the 3M self-check stations, the security cameras, the phone system, and the intercom system. The intercom system goes through the phones, so that's all sort of one piece. At the time, we did not have cost estimates on that, so you'll see some of that this evening. Okay, so I'm going to switch to the computer here and show you what I've got and how we tackle it. Okay, so you also have a spreadsheet. It looks like this. I think I might have this. Okay. So in terms of these various projects, what I did was, with the help of various people on staff, we have gathered data. So the first project on the list is parking lot phase 3. We budgeted $150,000 for that. This says estimated project cost, but this is not estimated. Obviously, this is a board-approved project. So the cost is $123,130. So there's actually $26,870 remaining from that project that is in that building line item. Okay, so the Adult Computer Lab. The Adult Computer Lab is an interesting project. This board obviously likes to be very data-driven in our decision making, and so this is our computer lab down here, and it is currently set up with a dozen static individual stations. So you know from the data and the statistics that we've been bringing you that the usage of our standing computers is going down and our wireless is skyrocketing. So we got together a committee of staff and started to talk about the way this room is being used and determined that perhaps what we should be doing is not talking about making it a dedicated computer lab, but talking about turning it into almost like a technology meeting room. So the proposal that we are bringing forward would be to turn this into a flexible space, bringing in tables that could be rearranged easily, computers that could be rearranged easily, tables that could be flipped up and pushed off to the sides, but essentially turning it into another meeting room that is tech capable. So now, once we do have some people that are definitely wanting to use a seated terminal, may not have a laptop or device, but others are currently using mobile devices in the wireless. And so one of the things that we have a problem with in this building, having been built in 1992, is very limited plugs. At the time, the internet was very, very young. We only had a couple of computers in the building when the building was built. Now we've got, I don't know, 47. Yeah, it's a huge difference. So what we are proposing then is giving those people with devices electricity in this seating area right here. This is our adult seating area. There's a plug here, and there's a plug here. That's it. That's kind of a problem.
And those tables are always full.
And those tables are always full. So we, in the process of talking to Library Design Associates, we talked about this room, but we also talked about this space right here and what we could do with it. The proposal is to change out the tables that are there. The tables that are there are original to the building, and they're not entirely conducive to the kinds of seating that people are doing over there. We've got two massive tables that have panels on the sides, so you can really only sit on two sides of them. They've got panels instead of individual legs. And we have some small tables. So we talked to the designer. We wanted to put in more small tables closer to the window because we're watching the patterns of what people are doing. We're getting individuals sitting down here by the windows. We're getting groups of people sitting over here. So we're proposing larger tables closer to the information desk in the teen area because those are the people that are sort of sitting in that area. And then having these be more individual spaces or small group tables. There's some really amazing technology. If we had talked about this project 5 years ago, we would be talking about taking up the carpet. All of our electricity runs in the concrete under the floor. So we would be talking about closing the library and wet saws and conduit in the floor and all kinds of crazy things. There is a fabulous new technology now that literally runs it under the carpet squares. So they would lift the carpet squares, and they're like flat wires that go underneath the carpet squares, create just the very smallest of bumps. They would come from the various places where we do have the possibility of electricity. There's a possibility of bringing power down this pole. We have power here, we have power here, we have power over here. Running them under the carpet so that we can power all of these tables and make a plug-in at each table.
Is that another one over, come down a little bit further? Is that one? You just passed it, that black right there.
This is actually paperback shelving that we ended up taking out. It was in the original plan that when we
I was
were
just
space
looking at the
planning.
black circle.
The black
next
pole.
to that.
The
Oh,
T-hole.
this is a
There's power there too.
There's
yes.
power, yeah,
Okay,
there's
so
power.
that's an additional power
Yeah,
area.
yeah, so they would run them from these various points where people could, where right now they're running
Everything's
across the floor, yeah, from these few spots. But they would run, and the other thing is you can't daisy chain them together. So you wouldn't run from this and then run all the way across. They would run from here and power these, and then they would run from here and power these, and then they would run from here and power these.
So you go very short distance.
They would go short distances, yeah.
And would the outlets be in the floor or built into the tables?
There would be what's called a hub underneath the table, and then it would go up and it would be on top of the table. So there would not be any crawling around under the table.
Right, always
or-
plug it in.
Because
Yeah.
I've been in meetings where that's what we have to do to plug in.
Yeah,
things.
no, this is, and that's why we're looking at new tables, because the tables that we have,
Are
well,
not conducive.
they're not conducive to that, yep. So, so this was this is what happens whenever you do a project just like at home. This is the project we started talking about and then realized that there was a possibility of making it even better by tying these two projects together. So if you look at your spreadsheet, and I put my spreadsheet, I lost my spreadsheet, oh, there it is. So for the adult computer lab, refitting that entire room with new tables and chairs and making it conducive, he's estimating, now these are project estimate budgets. He's giving you sort of a middle of the road budget, and then we sit down and he shows us kind of what fits in that budget, and if we feel this budget is too high, he'll bring us tables and chair options that are less expensive. If we would like to spend a little bit more, then he can bring us nicer options. But he tried to pick something middle of the road just so we could think this through. So he's estimating that redoing that room would be about $22,100. And then the adult seating area would be about $41,850. Now remember, that'll include all of the wiring, all new tables and all new chairs in that area. Okay, any questions about that? Yes.
Yes, because there's a lot to take in.
Yep.
In the adult computer lab, I think you started off with these tables are movable, is that right? Are these the modular tables?
Yes, they would be a modular table. Oops, lost it again.
So would that just be in the computer lab, or would that also be in the the main part of the library too, that you have modular tables.
These wouldn't be as modular, these would be more of
Stable.
a standard stable table.
But if I wanted to have a,
Meeting.
yeah, we could move these tables around.
These would be
we could-
adjustable, movable, flip them up and push them against the walls. Yes, like
Right.
you would put in a meeting room.
And I don't think you want the tables out in the main part of the library to be moving,
I don't know that you
be
would
shifting
do
them
that. That
around
would be
and,
shifting with the electricity.
yeah.
If you
So,
want the patrons to rearrange the furniture, then make them shiftable, and I don't know that that's quite
yeah, no, I
quite what we
don't,
want.
I don't think so.
I can assure you the custodian doesn't want the patrons rearranging the furniture.
It all has to be moved back and there's risk of
Yeah.
damage.
Especially if somebody's
It's-
running flat wireless things underneath the
Well, I don't want
carpet.
patrons injuring themselves, moving things around, so.
And there's a whole lot of reasons why we
Yeah.
don't want that, so.
But this would give us a lot of flexibility in that while the room was not being used as a meeting space, we could have some computers already set up so people could still go in there and use it as a computer lab if they wish to do so. But things like Minecraft, right now we set up Minecraft in our youth activities room or in our big meeting room. It could be set up in here, and then we would still have 2 other meeting rooms to hold other programming.
So,
And that's moving in the direction we want to go,
Yes.
to make it more spaces available. So I think I like that.
And we're in a position, we've saved money on the parking lot. That's
Mhm.
come in under budget again. And, you know, we have had more money coming in than we anticipated, and we've been doing a really good job budgeting. And now is the time, I think, to look at some of this kind of stuff. We promised the residents that we would be improving the library since they approved the village, so.
And you're not approving any projects tonight, we're just giving you the cost
Right.
estimates of the projects,
Right.
and then you can make them a priority. We would still bring you a proposal with actual, this is the furniture,
yeah.
these are the chairs, this is just now that we know kind of the ballpark of these projects, let's prioritize and how many do we want to get done this year.
I do have a
Yes.
question on this. So feasibly, someone could come and ask to use the computer at the library, and there would be none available if that room is being used for something else then?
We do still have these computers, which is our teen space.
So those.
These are desktop computers.
And they could still be available?
They would-
to an
yeah,
adult
and that's-
space.
So what we're thinking is that the shift is turning into people using more and more mobile devices. The teens are coming in
It
using mobile
definitely is, it
devices.
definitely is.
So instead of trying to guess what the community would do and invest a lot of money into changing things, what I'm proposing is that we gently shift it. So the first thing we want to do is turn this one into a flexible space, make it more friendly for our mobile users, and still have these seated computers in both the teen area and the children's department. And if it turns out the teens aren't using these, we can turn these open them up and turn them up for anybody who just wants to be able to use a desktop.
Do you have any idea how many patrons might use just the desktop that do not have their own computer?
Well, the statistics that we have that show our computer users, those are the ones that are using the desktop computers. And that number has been dropping drastically, and the wireless is off the charts. And so what we're discovering is, the other thing that we'll be talking about is replacing our wireless system and putting in more access points in order to make it a stronger signal throughout the building. So that's another thing to be talked about as well. I suspect that will get written potentially into next year's budget. Can only handle so many projects at a time.
That is cool.
Any questions about this one? Okay. So the next piece, one of the things that we talked about is dealing with storage in general. So our committee sat down again and started to tackle storage. And we ran into a couple of different issues. First of all, our staff is growing, which means we are running into issues in our staff area in terms of having enough seating space. And part of the problem is that we do share our big delivery room space that's in the corner of the building with the book sale. So we do have to take that into consideration and how much is in that area. Another thing that we're running into that's a problem is that our children's department has outgrown the youth activities room in terms of story time. Our story times are too big for that, for this little room over here. However, the building was designed so that all of the things that we store for story time are in this room, and they are executing story time in this room. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, every single week, our librarians are hauling everything from one end of the building to the other end of the building, meaning that this room is not available because they're using it for story time. And for the first part of the morning, this room is not available because they're packing it up to move it. And I thought, this doesn't seem like a very practical use of space. So what I'm proposing is to put in some storage cabinets in the meeting room. So along this area over here.
Sure.
One of the problems that we are struggling with is storage space in our closet. So we have a sound system in our closet, and we're proposing to put a tall cabinet up against the far end of our coat rack that would house all the sound equipment, making it very easy to get to. And then across the top, instead of those shelves and the little curtain, we would have closable cabinets so the children's department could store their children's story time sorts of things in so that they're in here. So if they reserve this room to do story time, the story times they do in this room, the stuff would be in here. And the story times they do in the other room, because they do still do P-Day story time over there, would be stored in the other room. Making it much more practical, saving a lot of time, a lot of running around and that sort of thing. Also making that youth activities room available in the morning.
And that could
for
be
other
so
meetings.
much better designed.
You would still
Yes.
have the coat rack though, you would only.
It would only go about a third of the way in. The cabinets would go all the way to the ceiling, and then instead of having the shelves, there would be cabinets. The curtain would be gone, and so it would be, everything would be enclosed, so it won't look cluttered. We would still have probably 2/3 of that coat rack available. And then we're going to talk about a couple of other storage proposals that would get a lot of the things out of the closet, which means all those tables can go into the closet where they belong as well. Okay? Any questions about that piece of it? Okay. So, to do the cabinetry in the meeting room storage is about $10,700. We're talking about, that's just a ballpark. Those are oak cabinets that would match our chair rail and that sort of thing. We can go up or down depending on what we want that to be, but that was sort of his budgeting project. So the next thing that we want to talk about is the delivery room storage. And one of the things that we're struggling with in our delivery room and our storage room is that our building is at capacity. And in terms of the kinds of things that we store, obviously we archive all of our records, which we are doing some of those digitally, but not everything can be digital. Paperless society or not, only so much of it can be digital for the sake of the audit. We also store all of the extra supplies for programs. We store extra shelving, all kinds of things that people don't realize we need to store, plus we store books for the book sale. One of the things that the staff has expressed is that the shelving that is back there is not really conducive to maximizing the space. It is actually, it's hard to describe. I should have brought a picture in. It's shelving that actually has slits in it where bookends, it's an old-fashioned sort of library shelving that you would put bookends in so that the bookends would automatically slide, but because there's a slit, anytime you put anything on the shelf, it falls through, all the way through to the floor. And it was shelving that was given to us many, many years ago, and we've appreciated it and used it for 25 years, but we think maybe now is the time to put in something more efficient. And so what we are proposing is compact shelving in this area. Compact shelving is, for the librarians on the board know what it is, but it is a shelving that is on tracks, and it can be moved, so you only have one aisle. So you put the aisle in the row where you need to get into the shelving. So you may have 5 rows of shelves, but you only have one aisle, and then you've got a reel, and you reel it down, and it all moves, and then you put the aisle where you need it, and you go, and so you get more shelves and less floor space as you need it. Yep. To do that, and I know this is a bit of a sticker shock, but it is an incredibly efficient way of doing things. It would be $39,500, but it would probably, I'd have to get an exact number from library design, but I think it would more than double the space that we have back there in terms of shelving and the things that we can store on there. They would be deeper shelves because they would go through to both sides, so long things could go all the way through. So instead of having a shelf that's only this wide, you'd have shelving that's this wide for larger items. And then we would be able to assign shelves in each department and have space to store things. That would move things from the staffing area, people that are things that are being stored under people's desks and that sort of thing. And I know it sounds like it's not a big deal, but it's a huge deal and a very tight space to get it back into the back area, freeing up more space for the staff to work. Any questions about that? Okay. So the last storage issue that we came up with when we started really assessing storage issues were the things that are stored in the building that don't necessarily need to be stored in temperature-controlled, humidity-controlled space. That includes things like shelving. Metal shelving is not temperature or humidity sensitive. Things that are used for the book sale, like the milk crates and the boards and things like that. Extra tables and chairs, parking lot cones, the attic stock of our bricks. We tried storing those outside and they almost got stolen. So there are some things that we need to keep secure, but they don't necessarily have to be inside the building, which would free up a lot of space. So that's the thing that we've talked about in a couple of meetings already. I talked to the construction trades program at the high school. This is a really good deal. They would be able to build us a shed or some sort of an outbuilding for cost. They are not allowed to make money on the project, so we would pay for all of the materials, they would provide the labor, and if there was any equipment that they needed that they don't already have, we could pay to purchase that, but it would still be way less than if we hire a contractor to do it. The construction trades teachers are so excited about it. They came and actually got our architectural plans, a list of the kinds of things we wanted to store, an idea of where we would like to put the building, and they are going to the building department for me and have been inquiring on our behalf about the ordinances and some of the rules and things like that. So they are super excited about this. Originally, they had thought that they were only going to be able to, we would buy like a shed kit and they would build it off-site and then move it here. But because we're serious about this project, they're talking about the possibility of the program being able to grow and that they may be able to ensure in such a way that they would be able to build on site, which would be very exciting, and it would give us some more options in terms of the type of building that it is, maybe making it so that it would seal a little bit tighter, so it would be somewhat humidity controlled as opposed to the kits that are kind of loose seams and things like that.
This is with the high school in South Bend and not with OTC.
This is with the high school itself.
Okay, so Tech Center has a building program where they can build upside. This is from the high school itself.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
Yep.
So it gives the students the experience and chance to build things, and we would benefit
Yep.
in the community because we would have a nice
And they're
facility to
looking
store
for
things.
real-world projects.
Yes.
So they're very excited about this, and they've got a lot of interest, a lot of student interest, and so of course they're concerned about not having projects. So they're really excited about the possibility of us being interested in doing it in the fall. That's perfect timing for them. And as I said, they're already helping me do some of the legwork, which I thought was really generous of them as contractors to ask some of those questions and help us out with that. So that part they're doing for free just to deserve it. So. Okay, any questions about that?
So we don't really have any prices, storage shed-wise, any ideas of?
Not at this point, because we have to get a firm idea of how big we're talking. And so we need to do a little more legwork on that. But at this point, we're talking materials costs, and it really is going to be about determined by how big we need this building to be. What I've been doing in order to try and determine that is kind of taking an inventory of everything in the building that's taking up space, that doesn't need to be taking up space.
Measuring?
Measuring, exactly, measuring, kind of compiling a list of everything that would need to go, and also having some conversations about things that don't need to stay. So. Okay.
And this would also possibly include things like the art boards for the teen art show?
Yes, yep, art boards for the teen art show are quite sizable and take up a lot of space. Things when they're not being used, for example, our puppet stage, when it's not being used, could be stored in that location, and other things like extra tables. We have a lot of tables and chairs that we only use twice a year for the book sale. That would free up some space in the closet if we move some of them into the.
So we're talking about a space close to the building?
Yes, the space that I should have brought my other map with me, but the space that we're proposing, I can kind of show you on here. This is the west side of the building, and this is the delivery room, and it's paved out here, and the dumpster is right here, and we're talking about the possibility of putting it either beside the dumpster or behind the dumpster. We do have We do have to have a conversation about, we've got 3 pine trees over there that are dead, and I do have an arborist looking at them right now and determining whether or not we need to keep those trees. So there's potential that we could put it next to the dumpster, or if we end up taking down those trees, we could put it behind the dumpster. So it would be right outside this
That's
back,
it, either way, it's
back door.
a short distance from the door.
A very short distance, yeah, a very short
And you
distance.
still have room if you put it next to the dumpster for delivery truck to
Mhm.
navigate it.
Yep, because there's actually out this back door, and when we have a more firm idea of what he's talking about, I'll bring in more information. But essentially, the paved part is right here, and then there's lawn right here, and then there's the dumpster on a concrete pad, so there's lawn right here. We would need to set it back far enough so that there's place for the snowplow guy to plow the snow. He needs to be able to do that still so that it wouldn't block the door, because we still want to be able to get in there, which is why it's somewhat appealing to be able to, if those trees, those dead trees have to come down, put it behind the dumpster, and then put a little walkway. So. And then the last project, two last projects. The replacement of the back door. We've had several conversations about the back door. The replacement of the back door, while it was estimated to be $7,000, and we'll talk about this on the next item on the agenda, the door quotes that I got were actually closer to $4,500 to $4,800. That includes putting in little panel windows for security purposes and letting in some light, all those things we talked about. When I brought in the door companies, it wasn't nearly as expensive as we really thought it was going to be for the back door. The front door is another story. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on the next item on the agenda. But the front door, the entire front door of the building, from the ground all the way up to the overhang, is all one piece. And the doors are inset into it. And apparently it's a custom piece from when the building was built. Of course it is. Of course it is. So, originally the facilities company told us they thought it would be about $25,000. The 2 door companies I talked to, the one wouldn't even discuss it with me. They said, oh, we won't take this project. They didn't want anything to do with it. The other door company said, well, sure, I can do it for you, but it's going to be very expensive, and I think that you need to have a real conversation about what you want to do and know what you want to do before we start talking about price. The things that were causing him concern, the first thing that was causing him concern is that the doors that are there originally had standard hinges, and when we started having trouble with the doors, probably 15 years ago, they took out the standard hinges and they put in a continuous hinge. So when they put in the continuous hinges, they of course put the holes in a different place. So now there's 2 sets of holes for hinges when we only have 1 set of hinges. So the frame that holds the door is compromised because it has all of these holes in it. So it's not just a matter of, originally what we were thinking is you just take out the doors and you put in new doors. He's concerned about that frame around it. Because the frame goes up all the way to the roof, and because we've got all those little panes of glass, all of that aluminum is interconnected.
We'll have to go stand in front of the
Yeah.
library and really observe the.
And it's and of course it was custom, and it is a custom color, and it has been fading for the last 25 years. So the company that was willing to talk to us about it said, you go talk to your board, and you figure out what you want to do with these front doors. So what he recommended, and I'll talk more about it on the next item on the agenda, is that we could hire them to come in and do a complete overhaul of those front doors, meaning take them off. Normally what we do is when the doors give us an issue, we call a company who comes in and repairs it. They charge us $100 to come out and they fix whatever little piece is broken. But this company is recommending, and it was approximately $500, and it's in your packet, there's a checklist of everything that they would check. They would take the doors off the hinges, completely take the innards apart, replace anything that is questionable or an issue, and overhaul the doors to buy us enough time to have this conversation more thoroughly. So that we're not spending a lot of money on something that we haven't thought through completely.
The doors today, are they dangerous at all, or just not inconvenient?
Well, it's not that they're dangerous or inconvenient, it's that they're unpredictable. They break fairly regularly, and part of the reason that they break is because the mechanism that locks the doors goes from the top all the way to the bottom, And over the course of time, salt and humidity and things have compromised the mechanism that locks the door. So sometimes it just decides it doesn't want to lock, which means we're chaining the door. It's also, which also causes problems with the motion system and the alarm system. So we know that it's time to talk about something. I'm in agreement with the guy from the door company that I think if we do a complete overhaul of the doors, we can buy ourselves enough time to determine the magnitude of what we want to invest.
$500 just to, actually, I think that's outrageous for.
Oh, no.
No, if we're spending $100 every time they break down, just for them to come out.
Yeah, it's $100 just to get them to come out, and all they do is repair the one piece that's broken. They don't do an entire overhaul of it. They just clean it up and oil it and whatever and fix that one little piece. Whereas this company's saying, no, for $500 we'll come in and we'll do a checklist, and then if parts are needed, of course the parts would be in addition, but they have an entire checklist of everything that they would do to the doors and make sure that they are in tip-top shape without replacing them.
Giving us some more time.
Yep, because it's going to be more complicated. And that's, the guy from the door company, his concern was, well, yeah, I can try and get a color to match. We could do the front of the building to match, but then what happens on the sides? It's the same aluminum that goes all the way into the interior of the building, into the lobby. It's an unusual color. It's not exactly gray. It's not exactly taupe. It's not exactly beige. We really struggled when we were doing the columns outside of the building to coordinate with it. It's a complicated.
Sounds very complicated.
It's a complicated thing.
Connected system.
It is.
Plus, we have all the electricity. You've got doors opening and closing with handicap.
I think it's
Pressure
always
point.
good to have this temporary stability.
I don't want to rush into what could be a $40,000 or $50,000 project. I mean, I have no idea, but I'm assuming it's more than 25 because when I told him, well, the other company quoted us 25, he just shook his head and said, no, it's going to be more than that. So, depending on what we do.
So we want to make sure we do it right, and we're not really prepared to say what right is yet, so.
Right. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, any questions about that?
No.
Okay, the last item on the list is replacement of the phone system. Just so nobody ever believes me when I say how expensive it is to do this.
Well, yes, we do.
Well, I don't mean the board, but when I talk to the staff and whatever, they're always a little bit stunned how expensive phones are, because you're not just buying a phone, you're buying all the electronics that are up in the walls and the wiring and all of that.
There's no programming involved anymore.
Programming
and
and,
phones, yeah.
So, and there's so much, our phone system is original to the building, so 1992, 25-year-old phones. Yep, they are, they could go in a museum at this point, I think.
We should donate it to the Historical Society.
Well, they'd be thrilled.
Oh, they'd be thrilled. So, not to make too light of it, but yes, it's definitely, we've gotten our money's worth out of it. It does include our intercom system that goes throughout the building. And there's so many choices in terms of technology that we realized we were really in over our head. So we found a consultant who would be able to assist us. He's estimating that the whole consulting process, where he would actually get the staff together, he would make a list of all of our, wish list of what the system needs to do. He, just like we did with the parking lot when we hired the engineer, he would go out and bid it out based on what we need and be able to give us apples-to-apples comparisons of the different systems that fulfill our needs, so that we know that we're getting all of the things we need and not paying for things that we probably won't use, which could be the case when you start to look at them. You get sort of sucked in by phones that have cool features, but are we actually going to use those cool features? I am very, very practical, and I don't believe in buying features we're not going to use. So I would like an expert to help us figure out what those features are. So he would charge not to exceed $4,500 in order to do the whole process, the bidding and bringing us the apples-to-apples comparison, the whole 9 yards. And then he is estimating that the phone system is approximately, for budgeting purposes, about $1,000 per line. We currently have, not phone lines as in the number of dialing in lines, but per phone in the building. We currently have 24. We're estimating we need at least 27. Possibly more than that. So we're looking at a project that's probably around $31,000.
So the fee just for the assessment and the consulting services? What is that fee?
It's all of the, what he's doing for consult,
This is for the total estimate, 31.5.
it would include that. His consulting services, I included in that number.
Okay.
But what's included in that package would be needs analysis, specification development, so he would prepare the specs for the desired solutions, confirm all the terms and conditions of the bid document, define acceptable products, define the responsibilities, what we would be responsible for, what the company would be responsible for providing. He would do all of the bid phase activities, so he would post the RFP, distributing it only to qualified vendors, bringing in all of the conducting the pre-bid meeting, just like our engineer did for the parking lot. We would be in on that, but they would help to answer the questions, so that when they start asking the technical questions, do you need it to do X, Y, Z? You know, do you want this kind of concrete out there? And I'm looking sort of blankly, and the engineer's like, yes, we want that kind of concrete, that kind of thing. It would receive and evaluate the bids, including any required vendor interviews, and provide a recommendation for reward based on the best product for the lowest price, and meet with the personnel to review the recommendation. Implementation depends on whether or not we want him to do this piece, but he could prepare and conduct the kickoff meeting with the awarded vendor, conduct 3 status meetings, provide problem resolution throughout the project, approve the payments. We may or may not need that piece of it, and validate that everything was done properly before it's signed off.
How did you identify a person consultant?
Well, to be honest, there are not a ton of them out there, so I contacted big public libraries that had recently
Done this.
I talked to the Flint Public Library, I talked to the Kalamazoo Public Library, there were a couple of others, and this is the company that all of them were using.
There probably are very few companies that actually.
Mhm. The nice thing about it, though, is that the gentleman who owns the company actually lives in Clarkston. So it was very easy to have him come. I mean, and I didn't know that until after I called and said, they all gave me a consultant name. We really, really like this Bill, what's his name? And so I called and they said, well, Bill retired. And when they heard it was the Clarkston Library, I got a call from John Foster, who's the owner. And he's like, well, I live in town, I'm coming to meet with you. So the owner came to meet with us, which was very nice. And was really excited that he could help out his hometown library. Yeah, so.
I want to thank Julie, Bill, all of these projects take a lot of advance work. And you know how we do it at home. The minute you're going to do something, you have to do this and this and that before you can even think about what it is.
There's a lot of legwork. One of the things to keep in mind in terms of the money, just a reminder, we do have this $26,870 that was not needed for the parking lot because it came in under budget. Yay, us. The other thing to keep in mind is that last year we did get the money back from the township, which was $523,766.44, which went into fund balance. So we have a healthy fund balance to take on some of these projects this year as opposed to waiting until next year if you want to, depending on how you want to time things. So.
And we had already done, several years ago, our list of prioritizing. And so these were the higher priority items.
Not necessarily safety related.
Right, we did those first, so
Yes.
these,
Right, but
although the
these
doors,
enhance the services that we're providing
right,
and/or make the building safer and more secure. I think that we should try to do as many of these as we can, as quickly
I
as we
do.
can, without
Okay.
overtaxing you or whatever staff members need to be involved in this. Because obviously we have the day-to-day stuff that needs to keep happening, but I personally, I'd like to see as much,
yes, because it's not going to get less expensive.
It is time.
No, we've been.
Yeah, sure.
I know.
Now, a couple of other smaller projects that I did promise that I would mention in the mix. One of them is the fact that we have been working on makerspace. The school has become very involved in makerspace, which maker is technology or even analog sorts of makers, so anything from knitting up to robots and things like that. The school's doing Maker, we've been involved in Maker Girl, we're doing Maker Kits here at the library so that people can do hands-on technology and that kind of thing. Our programs that produce anything, we are remarketing as Maker programs. Tracy would like to have a small interactive maker space added into the children's department, so it would be like a counter and some stools, and they would do sort of make it and take it sorts of activities where kids, when they're in the library, primarily geared toward tweens, could do hands-on things. So we've got our early literacy for our little kids, we've got our teen space for our bigger kids, and for those in-between kids, we were trying to come up with something. So the idea that we came up with is actually really clever, thanks to library design. When we did our space planning in 2007, 2008, in our back work area, and some of the board members will have seen this, we actually built cubicles out of shelving, and we have workspaces that are shelving. The shelving is attached to the walls, and then they built counters that come out from the shelving that people sit at, and then we have shelves over the top of it. We have 2 shelves that are right outside of our snack room in the children's area, and library design is proposing to make a counter built out from those shelves, add some additional shelving and some inserts down inside the shelving that would be like bulletin boards so that people could, you could put the instructions up there and have these counters and places where you can put things and then have stools. Really, really cool way to turn that into a little maker space. They're estimating that that would be, make sure I'm telling you the right thing. About $4,500 to do that. So Tracy's got to look at this, and I think that may be a proposal that she will want me to bring forward to you as well. But really neat tying it into our maker as well as our computer lab. We need a maker space as well. And then the other thing is we do have our business and marketing librarian who's turning that business space into a business resource center. The first step in that process is our document station, but he would also like to make that sort of a seating area that would draw in the business owners and where they could use the resources and use their devices, and so he would like to put in some counters and change up the lighting and make that more inviting and less of just kind of a, right now it's just sort of lounge chairs, but he thinks it would be more conducive if there were places to sit and things like that. So that's another thing that he would like to bring forward.
And identify it as a business center?
Yep, signage and that kind of thing, either later this year or early next year. So those are a couple of other projects that are sort of in the pipe that you may be seeing later this year or early next year. Okay.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Now we have plenty to think about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to stay up there while we talk about the replacement of the exterior doors?
Nope, I'll come on back. I will take my pencil out. That's all in your packet.
So do we need a motion for any of that?
Not unless there's anything specific that you want to assign us to do. At this point, I just needed the direction of sort of bring these projects forward and kind of time them, and you're open to us bringing you these proposals on any and all of these projects as we get them prepared. Okay, yep. That's enough to keep me going. Okay, so review of plan to replace the exterior doors. During the library board discussions regarding the capital improvement plan, the exterior doors, both the main entrance and the delivery doors on the west side of the building, are showing significant wear and have had locking mechanism repaired several times. Both doors are being reviewed for replacement. So I talked to multiple companies about this. Michigan Commercial Door and Great Lakes Security Hardware were the 2 that got back to me. I was really surprised. There are a few companies did not want to come this far north. Others just were not interested in our project. This was a little bit like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
trying to get some response. But basically, we didn't do a formal RFP because I didn't know that we'd actually get bids, but I explained to each company specifically what we wanted, and they each brought me back a plan. So the first one is Michigan Commercial Door. Their project is estimating at $4,460. This includes the panic door style exit doors to get out, the little thin windows.
So we're talking about the back
Door,
storage
yeah.
door.
We're not even, we'll talk about the front door again in a minute, but from the back door, this is the easy project. Leaving it, the transom above, leaving that as steel. We had talked about possibly putting that in as glass, and he thought that would be expensive and not really worth it. So he had recommended these little windows. And like I said, his bid is $4,460. In terms of the front door, this is the company that said $475 to come in and overhaul the front doors. And there is a little spreadsheet in here that gives you a list of everything that's included in that. Secure the area, remove all inspection plates, check control box and operator, check for any bare wires, any loose wires, clean the top and bottom tracks, adjust any belts, top arms, adjust and move the rollers, chains, belts, all actuating systems, all safety systems, emergency egress, lube the pivots, the hinges, electrified hardware, running the test run of the open and closing on the doors, checking all the signage, the stickers, clean the assembly, and basically make repairs to the lock mechanisms and that sort of thing. The other company that we did hear from was Great Lakes Security Hardware. They gave me 2 quotes. The one quote is for $4,815. The other one is for $4,850. In terms of sitting down and going over the proposal and the quote with me, they weren't quite as forthcoming with information, but I did highlight where the 2 differences are, and it appears to be the transom. One of these has a transom above that would be steel, and the other one has the transom above that would be tempered glass. So it is the difference of looks like about $350 or so to have glass put in the top. That's not, when he said expensive, that's not as expensive as I was expecting. But I am of the mind that I think that if we're going to put the little windows in, I don't know that we need to put the glass at the top, just enough so that it's.
Yeah, we just don't have any light back there at this time. So we need some light somehow.
And it does provide security, being able to see out. Yes. Okay, was there a question?
No.
Actually, I like that, because right now, you can't see anything. So you're going to, if somebody knocks on the door, you have no idea whether
Or somebody's just loitering by the door, waiting for someone to come out.
Right. So I like the security idea of
It is a
having.
little secluded back there as well, because we have a utility easement along the west side of the building,
Right.
so it's.
So even though we have more light now in that area, it's still, I like it. We don't have anything to look at. So I would prefer the transom, the side lighting, so that you can see out.
In terms of the 2 bids, what you would be comparing would be the Michigan Commercial Door bid of $4,460 to the Great Lakes Security Hardware bid of $4,815, the lower of the 2 bids. So it is less expensive for Michigan Commercial Door.
What I like is that Michigan Commercial Door was the one who talked more about what the possibilities were and what would work best for us. They were more forthcoming with information about both sets of doors.
Yes.
And this was the one who recommended that we not do anything in the front until we had had more time to think
Right.
about what
And
we
offered
really wanted.
a reasonable cost solution to getting us through.
Instead of just
My
saying,
inclination would be, given that they're, first of all, they're less, but second of all, we can have them do both things.
Yeah.
I would prefer to go with Michigan Commercial Door on both projects.
I think that would be a good looking.
And if we're ready for that, I would offer a motion that we,
Let's take a motion on that storage door, the rear door.
You would be able to fund that using some of that additional money that's left in that building line item.
yeah,
So from the spreadsheet.
Yes,
Isn't it?
the 26,000.
The 26,870 that's in that line item, so you would not need to make any sort of a budget adjustment in order to do that, if you would like to do that.
I would like to see, I mean, it would be nice to get that back door taken care of and to get something done with the front doors until we can figure out the best long-term
Then
solution.
let's take a motion on the storage door first.
Okay. I move that we have Michigan commercial door,
Yes.
replace the doors in the storage room with the side lighting windows for a cost of $4,460.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the Michigan commercial door bid for $4,460 to replace our storage door. Although, any more comments or questions about that motion? If not, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? That motion is carried. Do we want to make a motion on the front door for the $500,
$475.50.
$475.50? Is there a motion to stabilize the front door until we decide what we want to do? So moved.
And I'll second that one. I'll second that one.
This will stabilize the front door for $475.
$475.50.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we ask MCD, Michigan, you never read the small print.
Commercial door.
Michigan Commercial Door.
It is really small print.
It
Yes.
is compound.
To stabilize our front door for $475.50. Any comments or questions?
No?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. That's a busy.
Yeah, it's great.
I didn't do as well getting these balanced out. Your last couple of reports ones were a little
Lots to
longer.
think about here.
Yeah, thank you.
That's good, because that gives us time to think about it. We can all go look at the building now too.
Yes.
We're going to stay at the front door. I will accept a move for adjournment. And Dan is not here.
No.
So who is going to second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Did you get who made the motion, Debbie?
I think so.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:23 p.m.